Hey Pat, I was talking to Dante a little bit about it yesterday. I'm curious from the start of the season where you guys started to switch more to now, how do you think you guys have kind of progressed just in that type of defense and kind of figuring out that balance?
I think it's been steady, solid progression. I think it's something that we're gonna, have to do to take our defense to another level. And I think we've shown flashes of when it works really, really well. And now it's just a matter of, in my opinion, making sure everyone's on the same page. Because now that you have, kind of two different ways, if you will, of defending, whether it be switching, whether it be staying with our own, everyone from a communication standpoint has to be on the same page in order for it to be as effective as it can be.
I guess in that regard, what have you seen as like potential, I don't want to say problems, but just like things that happened as you are trying to do that switching. And then sometimes you are trying to stay with your man and just trying to find that balance.
I mean, again, communication, being on the same page. I think obviously when you're switching, you have to be aggressive with it. You have to be, you know, uh, assertive with it, if you will. It can't just be like a lazy switch where you see a screen coming and you just kind of like let your man go to the screen. You got to be able to come connected, make sure guys don't slip. You got to make sure guys don't get under you as far as when they're trying to roll. So over the top pass, the weak side's got to be tied in to make sure if that does happen, because some nights you will want to switch over based off shooting and personnel. And then we got to be able to scramble afterwards. So I think sometimes it's kind of like zone. There's a misnomer that zone is just, a way to take a break, and it's not. You got to be as active, if not more, in zone. You have to communicate as much, if not more, in zone. It's the same thing with red. Man to man that we don't switch, obviously fighting over the screens and stuff, you would assume is harder, but I would say you got to do them all at the same level of intensity.
Thanks, Pat.
Jim Mazarski. Hey, Pat. Jrue is, I think as we're getting to know him, comes across as pretty hard on himself in terms of how he judges his play. And he has said he's not quite yet back to where he felt he was before the health and safety. Like he's like the Cleveland series sticks out in his head in terms of him feeling great individually and then with you guys as a team. So where I'm going with that is I'm curious, as you've seen him kind of get his win back, do you feel like, you guys have a good sense of what he can do, how he really fits? I know it's a weird question to ask, but he was out for so long and he still feels a little more room to grow. So how do you feel about how he's been playing and you guys all kind of working together with him?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jrue's great. It's probably a little difficult for me to answer that question on how Jrue's feeling. Sure. Since I'm not him, but I would say as far as, what he brings to our team on both sides of the ball, always being in control. And I mean, I'm pretty sure it was a few games ago when Giannis didn't play where he had like 28 and 15. Yeah. So I would say, Jrue Holiday is a really good basketball player. I'd say he's the most underrated guy in the league. And I think part of the reason, he is so good is because he demands so much of himself. And I think to a degree, all of us are similar in that sense. We all find ways that we think we can improve to help our team win. And, he's one of our guys that is going to be there to take us, hopefully a long way this season. And if he thinks he can improve, I support him with it, but I think he's doing great. And I think, he'll continue to. And I think, when he was out for health and safety protocols, it was tough on all of us, mostly because we were getting our groove as far as it being a weird season, as far as not having training camp together, as far as really gelling as a team. So if you're talking about, the continuity of the whole team, I could see where he's coming from a little bit. But I think that was the case regardless.
You guys have kept the eye on the prize, so to speak, with peaking at the right time. But I am curious, how do you look at the closing push here to a degree? And I know home court is a little different, but in terms of matchups do you pay any attention to that after what you've been through the last few years? Or do you think, getting a 1 or 2 seed is still an important goal at the end of the day, to play well in the playoffs, I guess?
No, I think our goal is to play Bucks brand of basketball and to finish the season doing so in the best way that we can. I think if we do that, things like 1 and 2 seeds and all that stuff kind of take care of themselves, because when we do play the way that we can play. You saw the, streak or whatever it was that we went on. You saw the way that we played. And when we don't, I think, we can get lackadaisical, and there are times where teams can have our numbers. So I think it's more about for us how we're playing and playing well together and making sure that, our brand of basketball is becoming more consistent as the end of the year comes. And I think the rest will kind of take care of itself.
Steve McGargy.
I wonder what kind of adjustment it's been for the second unit, kind of without not having Bobby and PJ this last few games. Obviously, you haven't played many games with PJ, but I imagine the adjustment might be a little greater with not having Bobby for these last few games.
Yeah, I mean, they're two great players. Obviously, they're a big part of our bench mob, and they bring a lot of things, not just offensively, but defensively and, leadership-wise. And so to not have them out there is difficult, but it obviously is something that, we can't help. And it's something that we have to continue to fight through and try to make sure that we're at least holding our own while they're gone. And we're excited to have them back.
Zora.
What have you found over the years works for you best when you're on these road trips? Is it something you bring? Is it something you do just to kind of keep you occupied when you're, I don't even know how many days it is, but 6 games on the road?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit different now. I mean, in warm weather cities, I like to try to get outside. Obviously, there are restrictions on what we can and can't do. Normally, it's, seeing friends and family in different areas. But I would say now it's more about finding time to hang around with teammates, not just being in the room the whole time, finding ways to get outside if you're in a warm weather city, finding ways to, just continue to get to know each other on the team. I think that's been something that is more difficult with COVID. It's a little bit harder from those team bonding standpoint, but finding ways to attempt to do that. And I think is going to go a long way in the end. And also, obviously, like you said, 6-game road trip, 12 days, whatever it ends up being, home for one and then back on the road for another week. It's something that you just kind of got to deal with throughout the course of the season.
And are you a book guy? Do you read? Or are you like, no, I just listen to music? Do you binge watch shows? Like you're in your room, like what's your go-to?
I tried to watch shows less on the road because I used to do that a lot, and it's easy to just go down that path and then be in your hotel room all the time. Plane rides, I used to read at the beginning of the year, but then obviously playing is one time where we're all kind of near each other. So I'll start playing, cards with a group of guys or doing different, things with groups of guys on the plane that kind of keeps us engaged, keeps us bonded, keeps us talking and things like that. And then I'd say try to read more in the hotel room. I'd like to be better at it than I actually am, but it's interesting. It's funny because I think usually there's so much to do when you're on the road. There's so many new places to see, restaurants to go to, cities to explore, but you can't right now. So now the road's probably the place where you can do the least because you're not home, you're not in your own place. And so just trying to find ways to occupy time for me, business stuff, emails, things like that.
Lastly for you, are you guys practicing outside or is this just like a awning outside the gym? What's the location?
No, this is just an awning outside the gym.
Okay.
It's nice to be outside as much as we can. I don't know if us shooting outside on a game day would be something coach would really love for us to be doing.
Thanks, Pat.
No problem.
All right. Thanks, Pat. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Pat.